Thanks for joining in this talk at the Odoo Experience 2025. Even though last day almost done, I'm happy to see so many faces. Let's start. So you see already the QR code. Please ask your questions regarding payroll and Odoo. At the end, I will show the QR code again. Now let's start. This is about fast implementation of Odoo Swissdec-Certified solution, and that's why we will keep up with the time, I guess. So welcome to Swiss Payroll Mastery, implementing Odoo Swissdec-Certified solution in only 24 hours. I will tell you something about Swiss Payroll with Odoo. I hope you not expect to see how we configure Swiss Payroll, because that's not my topic. I talk more about how our best practices to implement Odoo Payroll in Switzerland in general, and that's version independent. We saw yesterday a few great new features, so have a look at the talks yesterday. This talk is about the methodology, how we implement Odoo. I will tell you something about how we, with our experience, kick off and managing our customers' expectations, and then what tools we provide to them to have a successful implementation. But I will also, with 4 use cases, I will tell you what were challenges or what are challenges you can face, even though you have a great solution of the payroll in Odoo. And at the end, I would talk about the 24 hours. Is this really feasible? We will see. Now, who is speaking here? My name is Nathaniel Leutenegger. I'm the head of project management at BrainTech, but also I'm a product owner for the HR applications. So since 10 years, I work with Odoo and in the project management with Odoo, but also almost 10 years, I take care of the HR applications in BrainTech. That means I implement, integrate HR applications, the payroll with Odoo for our customers. Now, who is BrainTech? Just quickly, we are a company in Switzerland. We operate in Switzerland, Germany, and Austria. And since we are in the business of Odoo since 2009, we had the honor already to receive 4 times the award. Unfortunately, this morning, it wasn't our turn. We offer full service. That means beside of project management, development, IT services, we also offer customer care services to our clients, and this includes also and especially for payroll. Since we have this 10 years of experience using payroll in Odoo, our customer care agents are very experienced, and this is very useful, which you will see later on. Now, Swiss Payroll with Odoo. In Odoo 17, we saw the implementation of the Swiss Payroll and the certification for Swissdec. This leveled up Odoo on a new game, because until then, bigger customers especially, but also smaller, they ask for the Swissdec-Certified solution, and this couldn't provide it until then with the Odoo standard solution. Now, why do we actually, or how do we provide success with the Odoo payroll? One thing is for sure, this well-implemented solution, Swissdec in Odoo, but also with the expertise of all the Swiss partners, which train, help, customize the solution to have a complete payroll for Switzerland. Beside of the certification, there are also features needed, which are not in the certification, but also needed to have a whole payroll for our customer base. And this leads to hopefully happy customers. Now, what is our experience, or how is the best practice do we work with our customers? So I have mainly 4 phases, and in these phases we define milestones, and just to go quickly through that, We have a preparation phase, which is very important because the customer first, before we install anything in Odoo or before we configure anything in Odoo, the customer has to prepare his data. That means not only employee data, more they need all the data needed for the proper configuration. That could be insurance contracts, that could be social numbers. All this together, they have to collect to be ready to implement the solution later on. In the first phase, we also define timeline and responsibilities because it's very important that everyone knows at what time who has to do what. Because otherwise, the accounting, which is also involved, don't know that they have to check the bookings based on the payslips, while the HR person also not check it, and then maybe something get missed and has to be corrected later on. So we try to prevent that in the very first stage. Now, after the first stage is completed, we can start with the configuration. The configuration itself is not a big deal, as we have seen, for example, in a talk yesterday, where Odoo configured the payroll with 3 employees in less than 20 minutes, I think. But it's necessary that you have all the data ready. So you configure all the parameters in Odoo, and do not forget, also check the accounting, because in the end you have account moves, they have to be correct, otherwise you will have to correct them afterwards, which is a tedious work. After we have the configuration done, we are ready for the employee data. We usually recommend to create samples for testing. That could be, for example, an employee with withholding tax. It could be an employee with hourly wages. It could be also an employee which get a salary only once a year. So the customer put together that sample, we configure it, and he tests it. If all the tests are according to the expectations, then we are ready for importing the whole employee data. Importing if it is a certain amount of employees. Of course, if you have only a small number of employees, you can also create it manually. After that, we are ready for integration testing and for the go live. It turns out that before the go live and for testing, what is very useful is if you can run the old system and the new system in parallel. This of course needs an old system, otherwise if you start from scratch, then this is not needed. But if you have an old system, it helps the customer to gain trust into the system if he sees that Odoo computes everything as the old system did. Then you're ready to go live. Regarding go live, you have to think about when do you do that, because with Swissdec you have this electronic data exchange, and there you have to make sure that you finish an old year before you start the new year, and there you have to know, okay, when is exactly the transition time, when do you go live. What could be an example timeline? And now you will think like, why is week A, week B, week C? What about this 24 hours from the title? So this is an example timeline. Theoretically, it's feasible in 24 hours, but sometimes some steps will take longer. For example, the collection of the data, or the testing, or the whole import of the employee data. I added here a column with week 52. That's because in 52, the first time when the year ends and the new year starts, there will be this yearly salary receipt to be created, and that's why maybe there will be some issues which could come back to you. Now, how do we provide the tools to the customer to get moving on fast? So we have, for example, a checklist, kind of a spreadsheet, where we hand over to the customer to collect all the data beforehand, as you see in these 4 steps. We have also one for accounting, because we need to know, or the customer has to think about how the proper booking is done. For the basic configuration, I will not go into details because, as I said, there are talks on this experience and previous videos, which shows very good how you actually set up the system. But of course, you have to do the basic configuration as you see on the right side. Now, the fun part starts, because let's talk about 4 cases which can or which should highlight what issues you could face. And these issues are mostly not related to the solution, because they are related to what company, who is in the HR department, what employees are in the company working, and therefore what challenges do we face. And I wanted to start with a family-run business, only 15 contracts. Seems small, seems easy. The main challenge was there that a family member took over from a fiduciary. So she was new to Odoo first, so have to be trained on Odoo, and also to HR. So there, we not only have to provide the expertise of Odoo, but also of HR. With the initial support, they had a successful go live, but then in this case, there was also something which had changed due to economic changes. That was when COVID hit. Then suddenly they had to apply Kurzarbeit in German. And of course, for this person that was new. I mean, for many HR people, maybe it was new, because this not happen so often in Switzerland that Kurzarbeit has to be applied. And then we have to also provide our knowledge and our expertise to set up the system or use the system accordingly. Second story, a medium business, trading business, 50 contracts. Responsible in the HR department, someone who will be retired in 1 month. Hand over to a fiduciary. We have approximately 40 employees, 10 in administration. And we have also sales with commissions. So commissions means salary adaptations. What were the main challenges there? Fiduciary didn't know Odoo. And as in my experience, many fiduciaries are a bit biased against other solutions or unknown solutions. And Odoo is rather a new player, and now a new player with Swissdec certification. That's why it's also something we have to take into account and provide or try to accomplish in the very early stage, that we get the fiduciary on board, that he knows how to use Odoo, what is the systematic behind Odoo, and then starts to having fun with it, and then all the rest will be much easier. With the sales commission, there we had, as with so many salary adaptations, and I will talk about this the next story, we have to have monthly imports in this case. But let's have a look at the next story. So we have a service company, 500 contracts, a large number of employees, at least for Switzerland. And here they provide 24/7 services. This includes to have special allowances on the payslip, because 24/7 means at night, on Sunday, on bank holidays, and this will have to be applied to the payroll as well. Luckily, in the HR department, they were very professional and they were documented, which is also something I want to highlight. If you have a customer which knows his processes also in the HR, not only in the rest of the ERP system, and they are very well documented, it's easier to accomplish the transformation from an old payroll system to the Odoo payroll system. Now, here we had also the special challenge that in this kind of companies, they usually follow an industry contract, which is in German GAV, and there you have certain rules which you have to follow, and these are also payroll additions, salary adaptations, which you have to import regularly, since they are not computed in the system. Some of them, they wanted to be computed in the system, and therefore we provided some customization based on the Odoo core, and therefore they can use also this automation to have this special allowance included. So not everything has to be imported. Last story is the union. Here we have 1,000 contracts. We have a professional HR department. We have an employee structure of 500 employees in the services and 15 only in the administration. But we have also additionally, to come up to this 1,000 contracts, we have special employees which actually not working really there, but they have to have some functions, like they have to join the assemblies, and for these assemblies they get paid. In the end, they need also this yearly wage receipt, this yearly salary document, but they don't have a regular pay slip. So this was a bit of the challenge, that we provided a way how can these delegates actually file expenses and actually have this then on the payslip, actually on the yearly salary at the end, because we send them the expenses with monthly payments, but we don't actually pay out by payslip. Here we had also the challenge that the accounting was very skeptical towards Odoo, because the system works a little bit different, and there also again we had to take that into account very early to provide all the information, all the training, that the accountant get used to Odoo, the systematic of Odoo, and then finally find himself well in the system. Now 24 hours. As I said, Odoo configuration I think you can do in a couple of hours. What is very time consuming is the expertise, and there if you have a customer, that in 24 hours. Now I thank you very much for joining in, and if you wanted to have more information, we still at our booth, I think 1.5 hours more, and then now I'm happy to look forward to question and answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. So we have a couple questions. So the first one being, for employees in protected workplaces, how do you solve the interaction with social insurances?
With social insurance, can I read that?
Yeah. It's the last one.
I don't know the details of the case, but I don't see a difference if the workplaces are protected or not. So maybe the one who put this question can come afterwards. We can talk. Maybe he means like the social insurance pays monthly something to the salary or something like that. But we can find a way.
Okay, great. Thank you. Someone asked, which features do you still miss in Odoo 19 Payroll?
Good question. What is still missing, but I heard that it is announced kind of, is I also talked about the hourly wages, and there is still no connection as far as I know between hourly attendance app and the payroll solution, and this is something which is highly needed. That's, for example, something. And for example, in BVG, this is the German term for the pension fund, there we have now absolute values which you can deduct, but actually there is also a way how you have a percentage or relative values, and I think Odoo is also working on that, so I'm very looking forward to see the next version or the next deployment of that.
Thank you. So another question is, what was the solution for the Kurzarbeit?
For the?
Kurzarbeit. I'm not
The solution for the Very good question. In the end, it wasn't a big thing because in the Swissdec certification, the certification provides you with approximately 200 Lohnarten or wage types, and in these wage types you have already this Kurzarbeit, and therefore the question of the customer was more like, how do I use that on the payslip? So how do I make adjustments and so on? Everything else is already provided and in the system.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We have another question, one last question. Is it possible to do payroll for a severin company in parallel? Do we need mandates for it? We do the Solarian for another organization that cannot do it. It's a very long question.
Okay, so I hope I got that question completely. But so for sure you can do different mandates or companies in Odoo with the salary, and I think it's then recommended if these companies are legally not connected. So if they are different companies, I think you have to use different companies. If it is the same company, that means also you have the same identification regarding the institutions. Then it theoretically can be done within one company. Depends on what's the difference. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that goes in that way, which is very also an interesting part of having fiduciary using Odoo for payroll, or as they do for accounting. Maybe if it goes that way, there is also, we did some extensions in the past to somehow use that, so you have activities which you can perform over many companies. And I'm also looking forward if Odoo thinks in the future maybe that something similar is implemented as we have it in accounting.
Okay, great. Well, that was the last question. Thank you very much for your presentation and your time.
Thank you.